Good morning, my friends. Welcome. I just finished up canning 28 pints of breakfast potatoes. And these are my red potatoes that I grew in the backyard. I planted those in February. I harvested them last weekend. And now I've got them all canned up with peppers and onions to use throughout the year as breakfast potatoes, and they're so delicious. This recipe is from Miss Lori over at Whippoorwill Hollow, and I'm going to take you step by step, and I'll also leave a link to her video, her original video on this. But these are my favorite breakfast potatoes. And today, when I make a jar of these for breakfast, I'm going to be using some bacon bits, some cheddar cheese, and eggs. But you can use just about anything. You can use ham or sausage. You can leave the meat out and just heat these up with a little bit of cheese and some scrambled eggs. So I'm going to take you step by step through the process of growing, harvesting, and pressure canning these. These are so easy to do. I did cold pack can these instead of hot pack, and it just turned out great. I got 28 pints, so I'm real excited. So let's get busy, and I'll show you step by step how we did this and how you could do it in your own backyard, and then we'll finish up with a delicious breakfast potato scramble. I can't wait to share it with you, so let's get going. All right, so back in February, I planted in 10 big pots seed potatoes, 4 seed potatoes per pot. And over the next 90 days, they grew up to this size. And once they turn yellow and the leaves start to fall, it's time to harvest. So I planted these in February and I harvested them in mid-May. Now next year I think I might add a few more seed potatoes because I got about 3.5 pounds out of each of these buckets. But you can see you just shake the dirt around. These are red Norland potatoes, which can very well. They don't have as much starch as the white potatoes. But after I harvested them, and this is some zucchini and squash I'm getting right now, I had 33 pounds of beautiful red potatoes. Now the smaller ones I cooked up and ate those. The bigger ones is what I'm using in this canning project. So I spread them out on a towel to dry with the dirt on for a couple of days. And that's going to be my end result, that beautiful jar of breakfast potatoes. You can see they still have the dirt on. Once I was ready to start canning, I washed them well. I peeled them and then I soaked them in for about an hour, a tablespoon of citric acid to prevent browning. An hour of soaking in the cool water with the citric acid, I rinsed them and put them back in some cool water. Let them sit for another hour to get that starch out. And now it's time to can. So I've got my pressure canner out and it has 3 quarts of cold water in it. I've got my potatoes sitting in cool water. My jars are sterilized, but now they're cool. I've got my lid sitting in some hot water. Got canning salt, chopped up red, yellow, and orange bell pepper, and 2 yellow onions finely chopped. And there are the potatoes ready to start canning. This is cold processing, so everything is cold. So I'm going to fill my jars about halfway up with the cut up potatoes. I'm going to push those kind of down, shake them down into the jar. Then I am going to add about a tablespoon of white onion and a heaping tablespoon of the peppers right in the middle. And then I'm going to go back and finish topping it off with the potatoes. Now I have my little debubbler over there. I'm going to be using that. It's very important that you debubble once you've put in the water. I am using cool water and some canning salt. Now I want to leave a 1-inch headspace at the top, so I'm going to finish filling it up. Add half a teaspoon of canning salt, And then I'm going to run my spatula down the side to debubble, and that is very important, to make sure you get all those air bubbles out. If I've got too many potatoes in there, if it's above the 1-inch headspace, I just simply remove the potatoes. And then just keep pressing down. Make sure you've got water over your potatoes. Then I'm going to add a little bit more water to make sure it's ready. Then I've taken a paper towel, dip it in some white vinegar. We're going to clean that rim off, put on the lid and then the ring. And then screw it on fingertip tight and place it into the cold pressure canner. There, the canner is full. I've got 7 jars in there. These are pint-sized jars. Now I'm going to bring everything up at the same time, the temperature up to a nice boil. So I'm going to put on my canner lid. I've checked my ring. I've checked my valve. I'm going to shut that tight, and it did take about 45 minutes to get that to a nice steam coming out of my canning stem on the top. So it does take a little bit longer when you cold process, but it really is worth it. The potatoes are not so overcooked. I brought it up to 10 pounds of pressure, and then I timed it for 35 minutes. Now this was after I let my steam vent for 10 minutes. So now everything has come down, the pressure has come down, it's cooled down. I can take the jars out and they all sealed. So it was a very successful canning session. I got 28 pints from the potatoes dug right in my backyard. Now I place these on the canning mat and I let them sit overnight, and all the jars sealed. And I am ready to stock my pantry. I even had some leftover potatoes to make potato salad. So now let's move on to the breakfast potatoes. I did open a jar this morning, but first in my cast iron skillet, I am adding 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to let that melt. Then I'm going to open the jar and I just pop that lid off. It had a nice seal on it. I'm going to drain that liquid off of the potatoes. Now these are already flavored with the onions and the peppers, and they are so good. So I'm going to melt that butter and then add in the potatoes. I've got my heat on medium high, and I'm just going to let those saute and turn kind of a golden crispy color on the potatoes. I've got 2 eggs here I am going to beat, and then we're just going to move the potatoes to the side and saute those eggs, scramble them right in that same pan. So I'm going to move those to the side, but first I'm going to add in that bacon and go ahead and let it cook with the potatoes. So I have about a 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of bacon bits. I buy those at Sam's, the big bags, and I'm going to add that to the potatoes. You really don't need to add any more salt. The bacon bits are very salty in that I had put salt in the potatoes when I canned them. So I did not add any more seasoning to this, and it was just fine. So I'm going to saute those bacon bits. Then we're going to move everything to the side and add in those eggs. First, I'm going to add in another tablespoon of butter to cook the eggs in. Now, I do not use a Teflon pan anymore. I don't think it's healthy. So I use my cast iron skillet. You always get a little bit of iron in your food when you use a cast iron skillet. I'm going to stir those eggs in, let them scramble, and then I'm going to mix everything together. Then at the end, I'll top it with cheese, and the heat from the potatoes will melt that cheese. give these a try. Oh, they smell so good. And you can see this makes enough for 2 to 3 people. Give this a taste test. I got a little piece of zucchini nut bread that I've made with my zucchini. That's so good. Oh, I love a good hearty breakfast, and this is it right here. Those bacon bits season it perfectly. Doesn't need any extra salt. So this is going to get me through the year of breakfasts. 33 pounds turned into 28 pints of delicious breakfast potatoes for the year. So I'm going to be busy all summer packing that pantry. I advise you to do the same thing. Take advantage of all that good produce. If you can't grow it, go to a farmer's market. Go to your local produce stands. Get your green beans and your corn and your tomatoes and your potatoes and put those up this year. I just feel like you really need to do that right now. So cheers to good eating, to healthy eating. This is right out of the backyard. Just exactly what I love to do. It's my hobby. So thank you for watching. I hope you all have a very blessed day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.